And students and class. All right, thank you. You may be seated. All right. If you have anything on the desk that is not for your lesson today, please move them aside. Keep only your science books and your biros and pencils that you're going to work with today in our lesson. All right. We're still on the topic of soil, but this will be our second lesson. Now you remember I gave you homework, so let's have a look at some of our homework of the diagram that you were supposed to draw. Now you remember that you did this activity on the soil. You poured soil in it and you were asked to draw the layer of the soil. So let's see if you have drawn the diagram and what you have written from your observation in the last lesson. Let's have Analolo to show us her diagram and maybe explain a little bit on her diagram. Okay, Analolo. Thank you, Analolo.
This here shows the small fine soil that settled after the medium-sized soil. This label here shows that the largest soil which settled at the bottom. This one here shows the rubbish from the soil floating above the water. And the last one here shows the medium-sized soil which settled after the large soil.
Okay, Madhu. Thank you, Analolo, for showing us your diagram and your explanation. Let's have Madhu, one from this end.
The rubbish, little rubbish that are floating on the water represents the crust, and the water represents the mantle. The soil over here represents Autako, and the stones over here represents Inako.
Okay, that is Madhu's explanation. Very good. Thank you, Madhu, for your diagram and your explanation. Let's have a look at the diagram on the board that I have for you. We see that from your observation, at the top layer we have what is floating is called the humus. You said rubbish. So these are bits and pieces of plant fibers and animals or organisms that live in the soil. At the top view, if you look at your bottle of soil, you will see very fine layers, very fine soil. So, like powdered soil, this is the fine layer. Very fine soil. And as we go, the particles get smaller. You will most likely find sand here. And finally, you will find large particles at the bottom. So, as you mentioned, in your last observation, heavier particles fall to the bottom. So which are maybe small pebbles and broken down rocks, broken down stones, bits and pieces of stones from bigger rocks. So this is just an example. What you observed and have written in your diagram is your description, but this is what we observed, similar. So if you have something like this in your diagram and you label it in such a manner where all the larger particles are at the bottom, and as you go up you find the fine particles, then your observation was very good. All right, today we'll be looking at the same lesson, the same thing, soil, but we'll be looking at it more differently. So there are three types of soil that I brought here with me. And who can guess one? Jason. Can we have Jason? One of you can guess the three of them.
Sand.
Sand. Very good. I have sand. What else do I have? I have sand here with me. What else? What are the other two? Yes, someone whispering the answer. I need to hear it. Speak out so the rest of the class can hear it. Thank you, Oa.
Clay.
Very good. I have clay. This is clay, one big bag of clay. What's the last one? Robert. Okay, Robert. We have the boys bright this morning. Come on, girls. Robert?
Garden soil.
Garden soil, okay. Some garden soil. Okay, what we have is loam soil. Right. Since we looked at dry soil in our last lesson, which contains a lot of things, stones, and it is very dry. Today we will look at these three types of soil, which you have mentioned already: sand, clay, and garden soil, which is sometimes, or which is called the loam soil. Right. Have you gone to the side of the road where the mountains are cut? What do you see on the side of the mountain? You see? Tell us what you see on the side of the mountain. Where the mountains are cut, and on the side of the mountain you see some patterns on the side. Or sometimes if you go back home, when you're at home and you see the river cuts through and the land falls off, and you go down to the river bed and you see the side of the river, and then you see some lines in the soil. So what do you see? Okay, while you're thinking, I want you to have a look at this picture. This is by a river. The mango tree growing beside the river has the roots coming out. The soil has been washed away. So tell us what you see. Can someone tell me what he sees or she sees? A tree, a mango tree beside the river, yes? Focus on the soil. Focus on the soil. Focus on this part here. What is it? Yes. What do you see? Thank you. We have one from the back.
Layers.
You see layers of soil layers. Okay, there are you can see clearly that there are soil layers. And if you go across the road where the mountain has been cut, you can see the layers. So let's get a closer look. Let's look at one section of it. You look closer and you will see layers, different layers. At the top you have grass and roots and some plants growing. As you go down, there are layers and the color of soil changes. Okay. So, the next picture will show you. That crust is made of soil, and beneath the soil is broken rocks. And beneath the base of the broken rocks is the solid rock itself. So today we will be looking at soil. So before we go into that, you need to copy down this table for your activity. So you will be given 2 minutes to copy down this table. Okay, we have copied down the table. Thank you. Also, one diagram that I need to show you. This is one section of the soil that has been cut out, a cross section of the soil. The very top there is called the topsoil, and beneath the topsoil is the subsoil, and last bit is the rocks. We have the rock, broken down rocks, and the solid rock. So the topsoil contains most of the plant humus and many living organisms, and the subsoil does not contain much of what is in the topsoil. So it has less or no plant organisms and plant humus and organisms living in it. All right. You need a newspaper. You have 3 newspapers placed on your desk. So each of these 3 will be used to place your soil on. So put them in trees. Make a group of 3. 1 newspaper for each soil, each type of soil. Put them separately so you do not mix it together. Oh, wait. One type of soil. Which one is the second one? Something like that. One soil, the other one. Arrange it so you have 3. 1, 4. Sorry, 1, 4. 1, 4. Like this. 1, 2, 3. 3 in 3. Okay, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 2, 3. What a tree? Which tree? All right, I'll give you the first type of soil. Which one? Okay, there's one. Which one is the first one? You need to clear out that. Which one? No. It's something like that. So you have enough space. I need to clear that rubbish. Which number 1?
That's beach.
That's beach or that's sand? You don't only find sand on the beach. You can find it in the river and sometimes in the mountains where there is no river. Right, eh? Okay. Remove those rubbish. Where's the second one? Hey, the second one, please. Yes, thank you. Share blade, share blade. I just share blade, can make it. The book. Sorry, no plant here, legally. Sorry, very sorry. Mr. Teddy. E-book soil. I don't know. It's task. Doesn't behave. Okay. Your instruction for your activity. The instruction for your activity is on the board. You have to carefully feel the soil and describe it. Describe the soil, each of the soil. There are 3 questions. There are a few questions, but I just put 3. You can describe more on the color, on the shape, on the size of particles. You can describe more, but there are 3 questions that I put up there to help you to write your description, and that is, how does it behave in your hand? When we say how does it behave in your hand, I mean to say you just feel these 2 soils. And before you can do anything, what happens to it? So it's the way the soil behaves in your hands. When you pick it up and you hold it in your hands, how does it behave? Is it loose, stick together, or it just fall apart? So that. Second one is, can it be squeezed? Can you squeeze it? When you pick it up and hold it in your hand, can you squeeze that? And having a look at the particles. Are the particles small or smaller? So I'll give you 5 minutes to do that. If you have any questions, you can raise your hands up. I'll come around. You can discuss with your friend. Good. Some of you are rolling it into balls, one soil. That is good. So you need to describe it. can write it down, write your discussions down in short sentences or words that will describe each of the type of soil. Can you squish it? How does it behave? What about this sand? It See, can you roll them into balls? Yes, some of you are already doing that. You can roll some into shapes or balls. Hold it like this. Hold it with your hand like this. Now hold it, turn it upside down. Open hand. Just hold it something like this. Something like this. Okay, try the other one. Try it. Our time is almost up. What do you mean by small, medium, and large? What are you talking about? Which one of these contains a lot of water? Which one contains more water? Clay, why do you say that? Because it's sticky. So what does it say about the particle? When it's sticky, what's the difference between the particles? What about this one? Look at the size of the particles. Is the size of the particles the same as this? Can you see these particles here? Can you see the particles of this clay? Can you see the particles of this soil? All right. Good. Some of you have written down descriptions of each of the types of soil that we placed on a desk. We'll have a member from one of the groups or two to give us the description of each of the soil. So we'll have our first member to present the first soil, which is on loamy soil, description of loamy soil. Let's have this group on our side, this group of students here to give us the first description. So one member from the group, volunteer, would kindly give us the description of the first soil. Then we'll have the second one from Rodney. Rodney and the group members, one of them can present the second description of the second type of soil. And the third one, the last one, would be the last group where Emmanuel is. One of the members can give us a description on the type of soil. So let's have the first one. Okay, Laka, volunteer for the group to give us the first description. Thank you, Laka.
Clay can be squeezed and behave well in.
They can be squeezed and what is that? What soil are you talking about?
Clay. Clay.
Oh, you're talking about the clay. Okay. I thought you were describing the loamy soil. Okay. The clay. Like it's talking about the clay. The clay can be squashed
And behaves well in.
and behave well in hand. Behave well. Can you tell us how behave well in hand? What do you mean by behave well in hand?
It doesn't fall off the hand when we hold it.
Right. Okay, good. Thank you for that. Any others would like to add on to what Laka has described about the clay? Okay, good. Come back to you later. We have the second one. Okay, Laka has described clay. Any member from Rodney's group to give us the description of one of the type of soil?
Sand soil. The sand soil cannot squeeze because the sand is too strong.
Cannot be squished. The sand cannot be squished. Okay, anything else about the sand?
Because it doesn't contain a lot of water.
Okay, the sand doesn't contain a lot of water. It can be squashed. It does not contain water, a lot of water. That's the description. Anything else that you would want to add on to sand? Any members? No. Okay, let's go to the next group. The last one to describe the last type of soil.
How does the loamy soil behave in our hand? It's a bit sticky in my hand. And can it be squeezed? It can't be squeezed. It falls apart. It only falls apart.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Very good to those three groups and their members for the discussion and giving us the answers, and also the other groups as well. All right, if you look at sand, typical sand is loose. It just falls apart. It is loose, so it doesn't stick together. And the particles are bigger. They're about half a millimeter or millimeter thick. So the particles are bigger than the loamy soil, which is this. They fall apart, but it can be squeezed, but not really much. When you squeeze, some bits fall off, and it contains water. Whereas clay, once you pick it up in your hands, it does not fall off, or it is not loose like the sand and the loamy soil or garden soil. You can squeeze it and roll it into shapes and play around with it. Now have a look at the soil. A question that I would like to leave with you is why are they different in colors? Can you see the colors of the soil? Clay is different. Loam soil is different and sand is different. Why do you think they have different colors? So I'll leave that with you for homework. Discuss with your group. Maybe ask some of your friends or some teachers. And we'll check the question in our next lesson. Like we said, the soil has 2 layers. Before the base, which is the earth's crust, is rock. The soil has 2 layers, the subsoil and the top soil and the subsoil. So that is your first summary point. Please copy down your summary points. Our next summary point. Right, our key phrase for today. And our next lesson we'll be looking at rocks. Materials for you to provide teachers. Some soft rocks that you can find around your nearest environment. A rock hammer. If you don't have a rock hammer, you can have a hard iron rod or something that you can use during the lesson. And lots of old newspapers. All right. With that, thank you class and teachers and students for your participation.